Hi guys, today I'm making a video about postpartum. I really thought that this video was long overdue, and a lot of people that I know who are pregnant right now are having their babies soon. So I'm going to be sharing my experience, what to prepare yourself for, what to bring in the hospital, and a little bit of a story time. And warning, this video is going to be a little bit TMI and kind of gross. Before I jump into the video though, I just wanted to say the videos that I make are very intentional. They have a specific audience, even more specifically certain people who I know who are having babies and, have asked me a lot of questions or have even said that I should make videos about my experiences. And of course, there's people who watch who are just friends and being supportive, and then of course there's people watching who are making fun of me, which it's all fine. I don't make the videos for views or anything like that. The most recent video that I made I deleted because it was so horrible. I don't know what happened when I uploaded it, but it just was lagging and freezing a lot, so I deleted it. That was my what to put on your baby registry video. The first two videos that I made, a little while after I uploaded them, somehow my views just kind of skyrocketed, but the comments and the likes and all the interactions and my subscribers, they all stayed the same, which I thought was really strange. And now I don't know if buying views is a thing on YouTube. I'm sure it probably is, the same way that you can buy Instagram followers and likes and stuff like that. So I don't know if maybe somebody bought me views. I don't know how that happened, but now every time I look, the views go down, which I know it's not possible for me to lose views. If anything, I'd be gaining views. So if anybody bought me views, thank you, but that's very, very unnecessary. I don't need that, and I don't know, I just felt like I had to say something about that because I thought it was a little weird. Okay, so now we'll get into the video. So after I gave birth to my baby girl, and I'm trying to remember where I left off in my labor and delivery video, they wheeled me into the recovery room. Oh, there's my notes. I still had the epidural, I was still numb from the epidural, so I had to wait a while before I was able to walk around. And during that time though, nurses come in periodically, just make sure you're doing okay, make sure the baby's doing okay, and they have to press on your belly and watch the blood come out. Just a little strange, but at that point in time, you're really just used to everybody looking down there and seeing you all exposed, so it wasn't the biggest deal. But it was a little bit uncomfortable having somebody press on your belly that's now empty. I couldn't do it myself. And they have to watch the blood come out and make sure you're not bleeding out too much and make sure you don't have blood clots and stuff. And nobody ever said anything to me that if I was bleeding too much or anything. I think I was just normal. Finally, when the epidural wore off, I was able to get up and go to the bathroom. Everybody says that your first poop after giving birth is very, very painful. For me, it wasn't. It was normal. It didn't hurt. But for me, the pee actually stung, which I think is because of my stitches. And I don't know if I said this in the other video. I only tore internally. They didn't say how many stitches I needed or anything, but I'm assuming it wasn't that bad. It didn't, hurt that bad, and it didn't take very long to heal. But also just because that area just went through a lot, and then hot liquid is coming out of it, so I think that's why peeing stung quite a bit. The hospital did give me, I believe it was Tylenol and Motrin. I'm so sorry for that sound. I believe it was Tylenol and Motrin that they were giving me. I could be wrong, but it was painkillers basically. And I had to take those every few hours, and they had to watch me take them. And I think they offered me laxatives or stool softeners. I never said that I needed them, and I don't think that I took them, but maybe they gave them to me without my knowledge, and maybe that's why pooping didn't hurt. After leaving the hospital, they did prescribe me Motrin and stool softeners. I got the Motrin, I didn't get the stool softeners because I didn't need that. So when you give birth, you have to wear, it's different in different places, but what I had to wear was this giant pad, like a really, really big pad, but it attaches with like straps on the side. So I called it my diaper thong because that's really what it looked like. I know other hospitals may give you like actual like adult diapers or the mesh underwear, but that's what I had in my hospital. More things that the hospital provides for you, or at least they did for me, they provided a lot of pads. The kind that they gave me, I'm pretty sure were Always, and they were like kind of thick, which is perfect because that's the kind that I bought myself for postpartum too. And those were my favorite for like when I was like bleeding a lot. The hospital also provides you with something called a peri bottle, which is this thing. This is the exact one that I got from the hospital. You can buy your own. They even have ones that have like kind of like a spout goes down and then like shoots up, so that instead of like trying to reach down and spray yourself off, it's just kind of easier. I haven't tried that, but I'm very interested in trying it next time I need it. So basically they give you this bottle, you fill it up with like lukewarm water. Cold water is uncomfortable, hot water is obviously uncomfortable. I found lukewarm water to be the best, and you just kind of hose yourself off after you go to the bathroom because you can't wipe. Sometimes if I felt like this wasn't doing the trick, I would use a flushable like moist wipe, which I use all the time anyways. I'm like against toilet paper. I don't like toilet paper, so I use wipes and they felt fine. It wasn't uncomfortable. I don't know why you can't use toilet paper. Maybe you can if you're comfortable with it. They give you this bottle to spray yourself off with and keep yourself clean. That was pretty much all the hospital provided. I'm sure if you asked for something else, they would probably give you something, but what I brought was these things. They were lifesavers. These are Tux pads. They're actually, it says personal cleansing pads, biodegradable when flushed. Oh, I didn't know you could flush these. But basically these are for hemorrhoids. If you've ever used them for hemorrhoids before, hemorrhoids are actually very common after you give birth. I don't think I had any, but I did use these a lot just for soothing purposes. They were nice just to like wipe with, and I also lined my pads with these. The only thing was they make you smell. Like, I don't know, I don't like how it made me smell, but I didn't really care because it felt good. So they have like a cooling effect. So they're made with witch hazel. Witch hazel has a lot of healing properties, so I'd definitely recommend getting these. I went through a lot of packs of these during postpartum, but then obviously I didn't finish this pack because I still have it. But they're good to have if you ever need them. A lot of people I've heard of using Dermaplast or just some sort of a numbing spray. I never used that. I don't know how safe it is. I'm assuming it's safe because a lot of people use it, and I think a lot of hospitals provide it. I don't know if mine did. They didn't just, you know, hand them out. Maybe you had to ask for them first. I never tried Dermaplast, but that's an option. You could also bring your own witch hazel. Instead of using the pads, you can bring just witch hazel and apply that. I would also recommend going out and buying some big underwear, just like something cheap, preferably something high-waisted, because like when you give birth, you just got a lot of like extra skin and like a belly still that you kind of just want like support on. So I got some nice big high-waisted underwear that you don't care if you get stained, and then that's perfect for postpartum. Also, after I gave birth, all I wanted was a shower. I think I waited until the next day because I gave birth at night. I waited till the next day and then I took a shower. It was so nice. And actually my friend who came to my baby shower gave me like all these little bottles of like shower stuff, which was the cutest gift. That was so thoughtful. And so I brought all that to the hospital and I used pretty much everything. So you don't need a whole lot, just like, you know, bring your basic shower stuff. You probably won't want to be shaving and like doing your makeup, but I mean, maybe, depends on the person. But just the basic shower stuff so that you can rinse yourself off and feel clean. And then as for clothes, I would bring comfy clothes. Who cares what you look like leaving the hospital? I left the hospital in my pajamas and my house coat. Comfy clothes, comfy shoes, And then all the shirts that I brought were either big baggy t-shirts or nursing clothes. Like, that's pretty much all you actually need to bring to the hospital. There's a lot of stuff that you can bring if you want, you know, blankets, pillows, like your own stuff to make you feel at home. That's perfectly fine too. For your baby, what to pack in the hospital bag, I wanted to include this in this video because it's really quick. I don't want to make like a whole video dedicated to this topic because it's super quick. So all you need for your baby are a couple of outfits, and make sure they're comfy outfits. You don't want to put a newborn baby who has always been so snug inside you in something like jeans and something not comfortable. Make sure they're comfy and cozy. Bring a couple of outfits. I brought a bunch of socks and mitts too, and hats, but the hospital, like, I'm pretty sure all hospitals provide you with hats. In my baby's case, her head was so big that she went through like 4 hats before we found one that actually fit her. Bring a few blankets. You know, you can bring like swaddle blankets and like stuff for being comfy, but also bring like at least 4 receiving blankets. And the reason I say that is because when you bring your baby home and you put your baby in the car seat, a lot of car seats come with all these extra features and cushions and stuff that are actually not safe. And the hospital took all mine out of my car seat, and they said all you need are receiving blankets. And actually the nurse who sent us home, she did it wrong. I didn't want to like call her out or anything, but she had put the receiving blankets in the wrong spots, and she actually let us leave with all the extra like gadgets in the car seat. But when we had to go back to the hospital a couple days later, that nurse said like that was wrong. Basically, the first nurse sent us home with receiving blankets over my baby's head, which is very unsafe because like in the event of an accident, that can actually push her head forward, and then she could, like, it's a choking hazard. What you actually want to do, that the second nurse a couple days later told us, was take all these extra things that go over the head out, even like the pads that go on the car seat straps. Even those are a choking hazard. I mean, I guess to each their own, but I'd rather be safe. So she rolled up receiving blankets and just put them on the sides. So we had 2 on each side of my baby, and then that would support her neck and support her sides because she's so tiny in this little infant car seat. And yeah, you just want to support the sides of them, not the top of their head. As for diapers and wipes, the hospital that I went to, at least, they provide all the diapers. Unless you really want to bring your own diapers, go for it. Maybe bring like some size 1 diapers, because the hospital only gave me newborn diapers. I don't know if they probably have size 1 if I asked. But also the hospital that I went to, they only provided Pampers diapers, which at first was fine, but now I know, like, I don't like Pampers, I only like Huggies. They didn't use wipes, they actually just wet cloths with warm water and used that to wipe the baby. And then as for like bum cream and stuff, they put on, I think it was like this Vaseline, but it was like the hospital brand Vaseline. And we didn't put that on the baby's butt, we put it in their diaper. And that was just so that, because the baby's first couple of poops are very, very sticky. I think it's called meconium. It's very hard to wipe off of the baby, so I think that was the whole purpose of putting Vaseline, just to make the poop easier to wipe off. Other than that, I mean, check with your hospital to make sure that you're bringing everything that you need, and ask what they provide. Always call and ask, because there's nothing wrong with that. But literally all you need are clothes and blankets. Now, how to prepare yourself for postpartum at home. What I did a few weeks before giving birth was I went out and I got like probably like 4 packs of pads, all different types. So the one kind that I got, I mentioned earlier, it's the always kind that are pretty thick, and I also got some that were very, very long, some that were just regular, and then I got some panty liners. And I just got 1 pack of each, and I figured I would just go through them, see what ones that I like the best when the time comes, and then whatever I find myself using the most, or the ones that I like, go out and buy more. During the day, I'd like to wear the thick ones. Ooh, there's a bee. During the day, and when I'm bleeding a lot, I'd wear the thick ones, and during the night I would wear the really, really long ones. I didn't find myself bleeding a lot in the night because you're laying down, but what you did bleed kind of like dripped up your butt crack. So, and then I also made some padsicles. I only made, I think, 4 of them before giving birth because I wasn't sure how I would like them. You can look up videos on how to make padsicles, but basically it's you unwrap a pad, put some aloe, put some witch hazel, and put some lavender drops, and then you freeze them. You can just take a padsicle out of the freezer, put that on just like a regular pad, and it's nice and cooling. I didn't end up making more than just like the 4 original ones that I made because I didn't find that they stayed cool as long as the Tux pads, but they're really cool ideas. I would definitely recommend trying it out. Now is like the really TMI part of the story, and I don't want to scare people because I'm sure this doesn't happen to everybody, but I feel like I need to say my story. About 3 days after giving birth, I noticed the bleeding slow down like tremendously, and I thought like, wow, is that it? That was nothing. And then 5 days after giving birth, I started bleeding again. It was my mom's birthday, and I was just getting ready to go to her house, so I went to the bathroom before I left, and as I'm spraying myself off with my peri bottle, I feel something. So I look down and there's like a lot of blood hanging out of me. So I'm like refilling my peri bottle, trying to spray this blood out, and it will not wash away. So then I think I grabbed a wipe and I felt the blood. I was just gonna just like pull it out, and I felt it, and it was very, very thick. You know, normally like if you're pulling blood out, like it would be a blood clot, but it's kind of like stringy or something and mushy, and you can just like easily pull it out. But this was not like that. It was thick, I'm telling you. And so then I started to get really nauseous because I'm like, what is coming out of me? It was very scary. I don't like dealing with blood. So I got a little bit of courage, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pull this thing out. So I gave it a big yank, and like I'm pulling from like the front, so I pulled it a little bit forward, and then from the back this big blood clot fell out, and this was like pretty big, and I'm assuming it was a blood clot. I didn't really get to see it or examine it a whole lot because it was like so big that it just went like right down the hole in the toilet, so I couldn't really see it. But then I still had this thing hanging out of me, and this thing, like, it seriously, it looked like how I imagine an intestine, and I'm like, that can't be possible for my intestines to be coming out of my vagina. But that's like, I convinced myself my intestines are falling out of me. Then finally, on the verge of like throwing up, I just pulled, and this thing was long, and it came out of me, and it just like fell down the toilet hole again, and then I just flushed, and I never looked back. To this day, I wish that I would have just like fished those things out of the toilet and like put it in a plastic bag and went to the doctor and asked what this is. Are they blood clots? Are they intestines? Are they organs? What came out of me? I was thinking maybe it is a piece of placenta that was left over, which I know now can be very dangerous if that happens. Going to my mom's house, my sister was going to be there. I mentioned my sister before. She's a nurse, and she was there helping me deliver my baby the day that I gave birth. I asked her to bring me over the placenta because I wanted to see it, and so she was labeling everything, showing me what everything is. And so when I talked to her that day asking could it be my placenta, she was very doubtful of that because she said my placenta was fully intact, didn't seem to be missing any pieces. But she said it is possible. The whole rest of the day, every time I went to the bathroom, I had my sister monitoring me because that's her job. That's what they have to do in the hospital. If somebody has a lot of blood clots or bleeding, they have to have a nurse monitor them, which basically means like look in the toilet or look in their pad and see their blood and make sure like it's normal. So she was looking in the toilet or in my pad every time I went to the bathroom, and the whole day not a whole lot of blood came out. It seemed like that was the end. But then she said if it happens again, send her very graphic pictures of it, the blood I mean, like try to catch it in my pad and like try and like play with it a little bit and examine. If it comes apart and it's like jelly, then that's blood clot, and if it's got veins in it, then it's probably placenta. So then later on that night, it did not like as much, not as scary at all, but there was a lot of blood and it was all clumpy. And I played with it a little bit and it did come apart like jelly, but it also had veins in it. So basically she said, yeah, you need to go to a doctor, and I never did. So that was bad on my part. I definitely wish that I would have, because I didn't see my doctor, or like my OB, again until my 6-week postpartum checkup. And by that time, there's nothing she could do. She just kind of said, oh, that's really weird. Don't be like me. If you have questions, always ask a healthcare professional, your OB. Call your OB all the time. Like, who cares? Or your gynecologist, whoever it is. Call and ask for help and ask questions all the time, because like, you never know. And so basically my sister just told me to see a doctor, but she also said to watch out for any flu-like symptoms, because that means that something's really wrong. But at the same time, I was going through mastitis, which I'll talk about in my next video, which is going to be about breastfeeding. So that was already kind of making me sick here and there, but I was just in complete denial. I'm like, no, I'm fine, because I did not want anything to be wrong with the whole blood situation. So still to this day, I have no answers. I don't know what happened. Not good advice at all, but that's my story. I don't think you should expect something like that to happen. I don't know why that happened to me, but it happened, and so that's part of my postpartum story. But then after that, the bleeding slowed down, and then it would pick back up, and then it would stop again, and then it would pick back up. And that happened for at least 4 weeks, probably closer to 6 weeks, because when I went for my 6-week checkup, I was bleeding, and I bled all over the table bed thing. But then that day she prescribed me birth control, and I got this birth control that only has one of the hormones in it, so that way it didn't affect my milk supply. The birth control doesn't come with sugar pills, so for a long time I just never got a period, and apparently that's not good. But also I was breastfeeding, so really no, I still have questions about that. But one day I asked my pharmacist, like, should I be bleeding? I shouldn't have taken his advice at all, because he didn't even know that they made birth control that didn't have the sugar pills. So he just said, like, you're supposed to only take 3 weeks worth of pills and then 1 week of the sugar pills and bleed during that week. And I said, well, mine comes with 4 weeks full of just regular birth control pills. He didn't believe me. He opened the package and everything. He's like, oh, you just taught me something new. I didn't know that happened. But I said, like, keep in mind, I am breastfeeding, so maybe that's why I'm not getting a period. But he said, just like, after you finish a pack, don't take them for a week until you get a period. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. I didn't take them for 2 weeks, and then I'm like, okay, I'm unprotected. I'm still not bleeding, so maybe I'm just not bleeding because I'm breastfeeding. Then I started taking my pills again, and then one day I bled a very, very small amount that lasted about 2 days, and then I haven't bled since. So that was around 8 months postpartum. So by that time, I think I was on birth control for like maybe a little bit less than 6 months, probably 5. So I thought, because a lot of the time, if you're breastfeeding and you don't get a period, around like 7 to like 9 months, that's when your period returns, but it's different for everybody. So I thought that's what was happening, but then I haven't bled since, like, still, and my daughter just turned 1. I guess it's very different for everybody, how long you bleed, if you get a period, and even like maybe birth control affects it too. I think birth control affected me getting mine, but also probably has to do with breastfeeding. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, obviously. I'm just telling my story and my experience, and I have my 1-year postpartum checkup coming up very, very soon. And so then I'm gonna ask her like a lot of questions. But the thing is that I've been too scared to contact my OB. I don't know why, just because like I hate to bother somebody if it's not necessary. There are so many times where I should have called her and asked questions, and I didn't. So don't be like me. Always ask for help. Always ask questions. Don't be too scared to ask for help when it comes to anything, but like especially when it comes to your health. How long did it take for everything to heal down there? The answer is I don't know, because all my stitches were internal, but I will say that I did wait more than 6 weeks because I was scared mostly, but I don't think it took that long for them to heal. Internal stitches, the stitches just dissolved. The one time I did look inside trying to see my stitches, and I thought at least that I saw something that looked like staples, which is obviously not what they actually used, but that really scared me, so that's why I was very hesitant to move on from that. And that's pretty much all I have to say about postpartum. There's also a lot of things like postpartum depression, and the only advice I can really give you for that is to seek help if you are feeling like that, and I hope you have support at home to help you. The newborn stage is so fun. It's actually kind of boring, but you know, they're only so small for a very short amount of time, so soak up all the baby snuggles. They're very easy to deal with when they're that little. I mean, you are very sleep deprived and you're up all night and stuff like that, but you know, in the end, like, I miss that stage a lot because now my daughter is a lot harder to take care of. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and good luck, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.